going to talk grading today. This is going to be kind of part one of a multi-part series. I mean, we were not going to just get through grading this week, but we're going to talk first, couple days this week about grading. Kind of what is grading? What do people? Why are people getting things graded? What are some of the companies that are being used? What you should, mistakes that you might make in grading, what you should get graded, not get graded. Do you want to send things off to get graded? Should you buy graded cards? Kind of my ideals behind it and some of the mistakes I've made so far. With all this, it's subjective. I know kind of things that I like about grading. Some of the things I don't like about grading. So first off, let's talk companies. PSA is considered the king of grading right now. You can have a debate. Well, probably not so much a debate. Second would be Beckett. And then after that, you then kind of get a debate. You get maybe CSG, SGC. Those two are kind of debated and everything. And then you have some, not really, GMA is not really a newcomer. I think they've changed their labels up. I've been seeing some newer GMA things. And then you have HGA, and then a pretty new company, FCG. So, other than the GMA and the PSA, the Beckett, the SGC, HGA, and SGC, these three I've used. These over here I've not used. These guys I've not submitted to, mainly because Beckett, pretty much, unless you have a card worth hundreds and maybe even thousands of dollars, they're just not accepting cards right now, really. Same with PSA. Now PSA, their backlog is so large and everything, and they're saying they've gotten through it. They're starting to accept. A couple months ago, you can send cards to them, but it would cost you $200 to $300 to send it, and it could still take a month or two before you got it back. So you would have to make sure that card was worth probably twice that, maybe really even need to justify it to be, maybe $1,000 or more. Some people will say, hey, you could do it less than that. But PSA pretty much shut down about April or May of last year. Kind of shut everything down. Slowly been opening back up. They started about $100 service last month, and they announced, I think this week, that they're going to try to do $50 ones. Beckett, I have not heard hardly anything from. I actually, in the video later in the week, I'm going to be doing some research and kind of see where Beckett is at right now. Again, I've seen some newer, GMA ones. I've not even really looked into GMA. And like today's mainly I'm going to be talking about the different services and what I like and don't like. I thought about submitting to CSG, but they talk about having such a backlog that I didn't really think it was worth it. Now, like I said, I have submitted to these three companies. The first submission I've ever done with SGC was around, I guess it was April of last year, and they concerned me a little. And I sent in like 10 cards, and they were like logged in on a Tuesday, and I had the grades on like the next day, the Wednesday. Like 10 cards were graded, ready to be shipped again, and I was a little concerned about how fast they got their grades. I started using HGA. I've done about 5 submissions with them. Like I said, I'll talk about all of these here in a second. What I like, what I don't like about FCG, newer company that I've found out about. They're out of Texas. Again, they're kind of like SGC. Now, I'm not as concerned about how their turnaround times in that. I wish I can get this to. Oh, there we go. Kind of light where you can see some of this. Trying out a new light, so we'll have to see how that works. But what I was going to say is I wasn't concerned about their turnaround times as much in that they just are not seeming to be getting as much stuff coming in. They're getting, maybe a couple hundred cards a week. So if you submit, they get to them on Monday and they're done and back out to you by Wednesday or Thursday. It's kind of obvious. Well, yeah. I mean, they just don't have the numbers and stuff. So that's, a couple of them. There's a few other ones out there that I've heard of. I think because of how big the hobby has gotten, just like how much Panini and everybody is making and producing cards, like just so many different cards and everything, that you're getting kind of a lot of more, just like you're getting a lot more cards, you're getting a lot more people wanting to grade cards and everything. So, I mean, like I said, it's good and bad. You have this and that and everything. But today I want to kind of talk the pros and cons of each of these. And kind of talk a little about what should you grade. Thursday's video is definitely going to be all about the cards themselves. Like what is something that you should be sending in to get graded? What are the pros and cons of grading certain cards? What should be looked for if you're thinking about sending a card in? What's the characteristics that you might want to look at if you're about to send a card in and everything? Do you look at certain things, the way you look at certain things? What are you looking for? And I'm really also going to do, by personal experience, the pros and cons, because I've done this. I've sent stuff in. I've sold stuff that I've sent in. I've had stuff that it's taken a while to sell. Some stuff is just not sold. Case in point. I'll give you my 2 cents on the pros and cons of what cards you send in, some by personal experience. But that's Thursday's video. Today's video, let's just talk about the grading companies. Let's just look at them kind of individually. Let's start with the king one. It's PSA. PSA is what everybody wants, especially a PSA 10. And you will be surprised where you go from PSA 10 to PSA 9, what the prices are. Like, it is crazy how these things go from, let's see if I take the lighting off, if it helps a little. I might have a little better on that. How these go from huge amount of money to not much. Even a lot of cars that people want and stuff. Like, it's crazy how just going from a PSA 9 or 10 to 9 makes a difference. But PSA has been around a long time. They have, good quality control to a point. You can see you have this back here to help you kind of log in, barcodes and stuff to go to the database, see how many of these cards are out there. Of course, the fewer the card that's been graded in this, the better. But that's some of the advantages of having a PSA is you get that big database. You get the knowledge of saying, hey, this is a 101. Of course, this card's not, but you know that size. They're probably one of the thinner slabs out there, kind of smaller. I'm going to give my personal opinions why they are the king, and it is clean. And I will give them that. It is clean up here. It doesn't take away from the card. I just think it's boring. The red box outline, I think, is boring. Sometimes, even though I say it's clean, it does kind of get jumbled up with all the little writing. Seems like their cards are kind of, like I said, their slabs are fairly small and everything. You look at, them at Beckett. Beckett's actually even a little smaller, but it seems like how, some are a little taller and everything. But their print, they kind of want to let you print and see what's going on, but then it kind of gets cluttered to me. I just think to be the king, this is kind of boring to me. Now, again, you don't want to take away from the card. I understand that. Perfectly logical. And moving forward, if they're down to $50 and I look at it and I'm like, okay, I got, let's just say this card. This is a prospect that could be year or two away. And I think, hey, this card is going to, it's going to be a PSA 10. I'm almost sure of it. $50, you send it off. You might not see it for a while. Might not get it back till this time next year. Who knows? It might be worth it and everything. Because PSA, their value, to give a comparison, if this was a $100 card, PSA 10, 9.5 Beckett, you're probably losing 10 to 15, $20. I mean, I would say, even though what's interesting is everybody will agree that a Beckett 9.5 is the equivalent of a PSA 10. The things that give this a 9.5, and if you look on here, it's got 9 on the centering, 10 on edges, 9.5 on corners, 9.5 on surface. All right. So it's got a 9.5 overall. Everything that makes this a 9.5, that 9, everything else, this 10 probably has some of those things into it. Its centering might not be as bad or as good. It may have surface conditions. There is something on here that is actually probably a 9 or a 9.5. It is not perfect 10 all the way across. Not having what's called a subgrade, which is what Beckett does, primarily. I mean, you pay for it. Everybody, they say that this 9.5 is the same as a Beckett 10. But just like in real life and everything else, the perfect 10. Everybody wants the perfect 10. If it's a 10, it's a 10. Hey, it's perfect. This being a 9.5, oh, well, it's not really perfect. But if you look on there, if you can see it, it says Gin Mint 9.5. Well, this says 10, Gin Mint. These are both Gin Mint cards. That means they're Gin Mint. They're about as good as you can possibly get. But PSA does not give half grades, so it's a 10. Beckett does. And a lot of companies do. Most companies really do. Pretty much about the only ones you don't that I know of is really PSA. I feel, if you look at these two, I like the 9.5. I mean, I like the metal back here. This is this paper. This is a little metal card kind of. If you get a 9, it's silver. If you get 9.5, it's goldish, as you can see. If you were to get an absolute perfect 10, well, let me back up. You can get a Beckett 10. If, say, this centering was not a 9 but a 10, this might have been a 10. You can get a Beckett 10, which would mean it's actually even above this 10. And then there's something called a Black Label Beckett. And it's aptly named. It is a black label. And it means 10, 10, 10, 10. Everything's 10. You get one of those, you have a card that is absolutely perfect. Perfect card. Now, those are definitely more valuable than a Beckett or than a PSA 10. But right now, even though these two cards are equivalent in what they say, Gem Mint and Gem Mint, if you have the exact same card, a PSA 10, maybe 100, a Beckett, you're probably looking at $80, $90, $85, $90. You're looking at a little different. Now, some people will pay the same. The people who do like, I think they like the sub grades. They're like me. I like the sub grades. I like knowing what was wrong with the card, what was good with the card. You know, this one makes me a little happier. You're looking like, hey, the edges are 10. So that means all those edges, you know, when you're trying to think about when you're about to grade a card, what are they looking for? Well, they look at the centering. And I can look at this card. You can see, especially kind of here to here and everything, the centering is off. This card is off centered and everything. There's a little more over here than there is. You can tell just a little. It's fine. Top to bottom, you can kind of tell. Here to here, you can tell. There's definitely a little more over there. You go on the back, you can definitely tell. See, there's a little more here than there is here. So the centering, yeah, it's off. I agree with him. Centering. Now, do I believe the centering is off, that it's a 9 and not a 9.5? Well, I mean, it's all subjective. This is just a personal PC card. So to me, it's not one of those like, hey, let's go get it resubmitted. Maybe you get a grader that day that's a little more forgiving and you get this up to a little higher. If this was a 9.5, I think it's still even 3.9, you know, still 3.95s and a 10 is still a 9.5. So it's not worth it. But you can kind of tell. I mean, you know, corners, just kind of looking at them. Yep, that looks good. Good cornering and everything. I like that. I like being able to look on it and be like, what is good, what's bad. So these are your two roughly kings out there. If this is 100, you'll say maybe not all the way down $15. Maybe it's just 90, 95. I mean, it's a little less. I think some people say about 10%, so $90. You go to, actually, probably would go, the third one would probably, and guess, of course, this is a debate, like I said. Some would say CSG is third. I think a lot more people are saying SGC is third. They like what they call the tuxedo. As you can see, it's black. Again, if the SGC card, or sorry, the PSA card is 100, SGC, you're probably losing about 20-25% right now. Now, prices are getting closer. Some cards are seeing not as much. You know, some cards are holding as close to Beckett's. With PSA losing some of their, you know, not being able to get their cards back for a lot of people, kind of on hold for a while. You saw some cards, you know, you could only really get them graded in SGC or some of these other ones. So their values are a little higher than what would probably be normal. But all things said, considered, this is probably, you lose about 20-25%. So, you know, if the card's 100, this is selling 75, 80. Now, big difference is, of course, I don't know the price right now. Last I heard, a couple $100 to get graded here. If you want them back anywhere near $200-$300, $100 for a few months, the $50, who knows how long. SGC, I have 4 cards sent off to them right now. They got there early part of January. Of course, you know, we're now, you know, a couple weeks later, still haven't heard much from them. Definitely different one when I sent this in and I got it back in like 2 weeks. That's, I mean, 2 weeks in, sending it there, they graded it and coming back to me. Now we're looking at, you know, maybe a month or so, still faster than these other two, but we'll see. And the price is good. I mean, the price is $25, $30 somewhere in there right now to get a card graded. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't matter, what the card is really worth. I think they do have an upcharge if you send in something that's like a couple $1,000s, but all the companies have an upcharge. But considering that right now, the cheapest PSA you could do is 100. Sometime here soon, you could do 50. You're still saving either half that or roughly, $20, or half for an SGC. I think I still would say still kind of plain up here. You got Black Label. Cool thing is if you got perfect 10, like perfect card, that actually goes gold. That's kind of a cool thing. But if you look at it, this is kind of their mint, their gem mint, everything. They are like Beckett. They have a 9.5, they have a 10, and then they have the absolute perfect 10, which, like I said, is a gold label. Their labels kind of plain, just like PSA. Again, also like PSA, you don't get subgrades. I don't really care for that. The other thing I don't care for is if you have an autograph, like PSA will say something about it on the back. Beckett will put something up here and tell you if the grade on the auto. When SGC grades, it kind of gets confusing because they will put the auto grade on the left, and there'll be a line here, and then you have the card grade. And I had a couple that I sent off that was like that, and I was like, all right, I got a 9.5. Oh man, I got a 9 on the auto. And then I looked at it and I realized, oh no, I got a 9 on the card, and I get, actually it was like a 10 on the auto. I was like, all right, I got a 10 for the card. Oh, a 9 on the auto. And then you looked at it and you're like, oh crap, no, that's not right. I got a 10 on the auto and a 9 on the card. Not the greatest. The 4 cards I sent off, I'm kind of trying the company in again. I think a couple of them have autos, so hopefully I'm getting, back 10 9.5s. Hopefully that's what I'm getting, but we'll see. I'm hearing a lot of things about this company. I'm probably going to go with them. Thursday, I'll talk a little about my experiences more with some of these companies and my thoughts on where you should be grading-wise. Okay. Company I have not used, but I've seen. I like, I kind of like the outline. You definitely can see the grade. Again, this is a PSA 10. This is 9.5. It's Gem Mint. The difference with this car or company is, even though this one doesn't have it, and that takes away, in my opinion, you can get subgrades across here. If you notice how much like white space there is here, is that if you pay a little more, I think it's like $10 more per card, you can get the subgrades. So you can know, what was this 9.5? Was it a 9.55, 9.5, 9.5 on everything? Was there a 9, a couple 9s, a couple 9.5s? What was it? I suggest if you use this company, pay the extra $10 and get the subgrades. I haven't done as much research into this. I don't think they're on par with SGC. So if they're 20-25% less than PSA, these are probably closer to the same. Again, because of how the market is, and you're not being able to get certain grade by PSA, and a lot of people kind of getting new to the market, getting new to all of it. Some people are kind of, I think, turning their backs on PSA. You have like the diehard PSA people like, hey, this is the king. You got to use it. And then you got some people who are like, why? Why do we have to use them just because they're king? I'm one of those. I think if it's not just like horrible looking, why does it matter? I mean, I want the card graded and turn back to me and everything. I kind of like how they looked. I like the look of this. I mean, I like the look of these. Again, I just sit there and say, I go back to it. This is probably the least liked one I have. Well, I take that back. This is the least like. I dislike this. And like I said, I've seen some of theirs. They're kind of different. They're, I think, darker now. Like, this is, yeah. I picked this up. Like I said, I'll talk about on Thursday my do's and don'ts on grading, what I've learned, what I've not learned. Now, GMA, I think, has been around for a while and everything. I mean, what can I say? It's boring. That's about all I can say. I mean, it's really boring. You got a Gem Mint 10. Okay, so it's like it's like PSA. You got a black border instead of red border. I mean, it's a PSA. I mean, look, there's just as thin, pretty much same size. Actually, I think the GMA is just a little taller. Yeah, you can feel it right there. A little taller. But I mean, it's a PSA, just a different company. Just different label, black label, instead of red. Very plain. Not going to submit to them ever. Okay, so last two, kind of to the newer boys on the block. We'll go kind of talk about both of them, kind of a little together. Both companies I like in that, as you can see, they do subgrades. Like the subgrades. Now, it doesn't show up as well on camera, especially from a distance. But even though it's black, I kind of like how the gold kind of color comes in. It's not too distracting from the card. And this is, like I said, this is forensic card. The card, the thing itself, the slab, pretty nice. You get the auto grade right there. See, the grade on the auto was a 10. Subgrades, 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, 9. It's one of those like, man, so close to like a pure 9.5s. Kind of gets a little cluttered, and when they try to put all the writing in here and stuff. But, back it away. Doesn't take away from the card. Newer company, your value, I think a lot of people, some people, if you're doing with eBay, they'll try to cut you out from under the legs, and they're like, oh, well, it's new, never heard of them. You try to sell the card. I've had people ask about this card. They're like, oh, the value of the card raw is such and such. And I look and, I was like, okay, there's no like PSAs on these. There's very few graded, period. And I'm like, okay, it's graded. It's got to be double. And right now, most people are like, no, it's the same as raw. Like, no, it's not. It's graded. It's I think these two, even though they're newer and people have their pros and cons on them, they, I think, are going to try their very best to be pure in their grades. Like, they're going to mean that if you send this card to PSA, it's going to come back a 10 if they're saying this is a 9.5. So that's my opinion. My question, like, is these new companies are coming together. If this is the same as a PSA 10, yes, I know PSA is king, but shouldn't these be fairly equal in value, or at least higher up in value? It's way more in raw, like way more raw. Don't give me that. You're just trying to get a steal by saying, well, it's brand new. You don't know who they are, blah blah blah. Now, even if the company goes out of business tomorrow, you still have a graded card. It's still graded. It still looks nice. If you're doing it because you're like, hey, I want to buy this card because I want to send it to PSA or Beckett later on, get it reslabbed, let them grade it, and you're going to try to flip it and you want to get it as cheap as possible, fine. But you're not going to do that for me. Like, I'm going to hold. Like, I will find somebody sooner or later that will pay the value of this card. The card itself is a nice looking card. It looks really nice in the slab. I like them in that they get your cards back to you fairly quickly. Unlike a lot of these people, some people still have PSAs that been out for like a year and everything. So, they get them to you. They seem to be doing a bang up job on getting them right and everything. Now I am again a little apprehensive, for my bang for my buck. Will I be using them? Maybe a few select things here and there. But, I want to support them, but I kind of need to see other people jumping on board and stuff. All right. Last one, but not the least. A company I had really, really high hopes for. I like the look of their slabs. I like this. I mean, some people think it's kind of cartoonish how they have custom slabs. You can go into their website. You get to kind of predict or to pick what you want. You can do like team match. You can do card match. So if there's prevalent colors on the card, it'll be up here. You can do like this, what's called like a color blast. You can see it in there, kind of right there. You can do neutral, white, black. You can do custom. Custom costs a little more money. A lot of people do custom, and there's some really good customs. But that's what's become the problem with HGA. HGA, hybrid grading, they are supposed to use a computer program to help you grade. Like they look at it. It's an adaptive program. The more cards they get, the better it look. Better they do at grading. They've had problems about never releasing what it looks like. What is the program? They talk about patents and this and that. They can't kind of say a whole lot and say they're going to do stuff, but they haven't really made good on some of their promises. To a point that they've kind of, I followed a lot of their social media stuff, and they've really backtracked a lot. Like they've kind of stopped. Like they went, not so much radio silence, but kind of that way. Kind of makes me worried. I like them. I think if they can get their act together, if they can get the cards out on a timely manner, if they can stop messing up the custom labels and just the labels period, like getting the names wrong, misspelling names, things like that. If they can get their customer service under control, they have a chance, I think, to become the third company behind these two. I think they can. At least the fourth option that people would want to go to. Your higher ends and your mid levels. Like I think that you can see that. Like really, 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 truly can see that. But they keep shooting themselves in their own foot. Like it's bad. I like them. I would love for them to do that. I love for them to get to that second, or probably not second level. I like Beckett better. To that third, fourth level, be a valuable option. The cards that you don't want. The cards that are your personal level, or say below 500. Or up to 1,000, $500 to $1,000 cards, SGC, HGA, those should be the ones you should go to. That's where it should get to. Maybe FCG can stay in there, CGS or CSG, yeah, so many letters. And then your really, really high end cards, your cards that are worth thousands of dollars, you go to these two guys. You go to these guys. Love to see that happen. Love to see HGA be that person that you go to for a card. I'll just pull something out okay, right here. Like I said, on Thursday, I'll talk about what you should and shouldn't grade. This is first edition, first Bowman base. Even though it's a first edition, you should not grade this card. Okay? This card should not be graded. If you're getting this graded, you need to get it graded because you want to put this up somewhere on a shelf and have it there. If you're grading these to resell, you're going to have a problem. Like, it's not going to... I mean, this card is a couple dollars raw. You're going to spend 30, 40, 50, 60... I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money to get it graded. You're not going to get your money back. Like, I've learned this. Like I'm saying, I'll that on on Thursday, I'm definitely talking about experiences. Now, SGC has a good thing about where it's a little cheaper. That if you want PC, what's personal collection cards, you could send in. I think it's like $20. I may have stopped doing that. I'm not sure. They've fallen behind a lot. But if you wanted your personal collection encapsulated, maybe get like a custom label, it won't be graded, you won't have the grades on it. But if you know you have a card that you are never, ever going to sell, I would go with HGA. I would get a custom label. Make it something cool that look nice sitting up on a shelf and everything. Do that. But if you ever think there's a chance you're going to sell it, and it's worth thousands of dollars, you need to go pretty much with them and maybe them. Now, if it's under $1,000 but still fairly valuable card and you want it back pretty soon, you might go with them. If it's under $400 or $500, I would say these two are your better options. Again, I've not even looked at GMA. Don't know where they're at. CSG been a little, kind of delayed on looking at some of their stuff. I think their turnaround times, they were talking months turnaround time. But, like I said, if you're doing it purely for personal, I would go HGA. Price-wise works. If you're looking for return on investment, ROI, return on investment. If you're return on investment and you have a really high-end card, these are the companies you got to use. If it's mid-level, you're probably better off using these right now. If you want to take a gamble and hope, then maybe these two. They're probably, something you might think at. Okay, so longer video than I've been doing. Kind of, like I said, a sneak preview for Thursdays is what do you need to grade? From personal experience, what am I going to send in the future to get graded? And why would I not send certain cards to get graded? And kind of the flops that I've sent. Kind of deal. And where am I at the grading? What have I got out there? What am I thinking? So that's the preview for Thursday. I know this is a little different. I've been opening cards. Hopefully, be able to continue doing that. I definitely want to continue doing that. Went out on the hunt, had a little problem kind of finding some stuff this past weekend. Hope to be able to find some more. Looking at some card shows coming up. Be able to try to get out there, get some card shows. Got to put my boy Mac Jones up there, even though he didn't look good in the playoffs. I do have a few things. I have some more soccer coming up that we can do. Talk to a local card shop, trying to get some maybe hobby boxes. I think he said the local guy talked about a Panini Prism baseball draft. So some of the players that were drafted this last summer, but will still not be licensed. So I think they'll be in their college uniforms, possibly, maybe. So that'd be kind of cool. I mean, might look at some of that. and everything. I know hoops basketball is supposed to be, blasters are supposed to be out pretty soon. Looking for Illusions football. Again, let's build this channel. The more we can get in here, get those numbers up, the more I can put out there. Hit that button if you like today's video. If you're watching for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Get that subscribe button. We'll try to get as many numbers in here as we can. Try to build this thing up. All right. See you later.